Hello and welcome to Press TV News Analysis. I'm cablegate. In this news analysis, Wikileaks and its latest documents is the topic up for debate. 251,287 cables from more than 250 U.S. embassies around the world. Some of the sentiments not too kind regarding other countries, leaders, and heads of state. But upon closer scrutiny, the revelations do have political implications. Can Wikileaks, though, be trusted? First, a look at this report.
Wikileaks is back in the spotlight with the release of tens of thousands of U.S. foreign embassy communications. This is the third mass release of classified documents since it published secret U.S. files in July and October detailing events of wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. But the website first hit the headlines in April when it released a video showing a U.S. helicopter gunship killing Iraqi civilians during a 2007 attack in Baghdad.
Come on. Clear.
The releases shed light on the United States' actions in Afghanistan, but the latest documents are of a different nature. They reveal details of alleged U.S. cables that portray unflattering images of world leaders. The U.S. officials are said to have described Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi as feckless and ineffective, President Nicolas Sarkozy of France as thin-skinned and authoritarian, while Afghan President Hamid Karzai is referred to as extremely weak. The memos also describe a Chinese government bid to hack into Google, plans to reunite the Korean peninsula after the North's supposed collapse, and a call from Saudi Arabia's king to the U.S. to bomb Iran and destroy its nuclear facilities. World leaders, including Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, have roundly rebuked the publications. In a press conference, Ahmadinejad dismissed the releases as propaganda and psychological warfare against Iran.
The documents appear to have been published out of mischief. We think they are worthless and lack legal value. Iran and regional countries are friends and brothers, and such mischievous acts will not affect relations between countries.
Iran's president's comments have been echoed by some analysts who see the Wikileaks as a U.S. front organization, or, at the very least, a Mossad operation. They say Wikileaks has been manipulated to undermine peace in the world and the Middle East in particular and discredit its leaders.
We're going to try to get an answer on that question. Joining us on this debate is, from Beirut, Franklin Lamb, who's an international lawyer. Joining us from Chicago, we have Stephen Ledman, who's a writer and radio host. And from Arizona, Jeff Gates, U.S. attorney and author, former counsel to U.S. Senate Committee on Finance and advisor to 35 governments worldwide. Gentlemen, thank you all for joining us in this news analysis. First to Franklin Lamb. Franklin Lamb, let's talk about WikiLeaks in terms of what it is, Julian Assange. Where do they get their money from? How do they compensate the people that get their so-called information from, and the sources of the information? Give us an overall picture there.
Well, I frankly don't know about their funding, where it comes from. Many of these documents apparently are from people inside the government. Obviously, one gentleman, as you know, has been charged for stealing documents, an employer. I would like to put this historical context, if you will. You remember 1969, I think it was, Daniel Ellsberg released, stole in a sense, he was accused of stealing a document, what became known as the Pentagon Papers. And I see this as maybe similar in some way. I personally think it's a healthy thing for the American public. It aids in transparency with the American public and also forces some accountability. In that sense, I think it's healthy in terms of understanding the foreign relations of the United States. You know, there's a project in America where they, after so many years, declassify documents just like these. But if you look at the record, now they're working on 1972, almost 40 years ago. All of a sudden, WikiLeaks dumps all these, and it's a boon for scholars, you can imagine, and for students. So I see that frankly, as a a healthy aspect. I don't know where he's getting his money. I don't know that. I don't have evidence that it's a conspiracy. Some of the material that's coming out most of it is not new. We knew that Abdullah, for example, has been criticized or pressuring the Obama administration to go after Iran. We know that they're spies at the United Nations. That's what most of the staff does. So Hillary Clinton's comment isn't shocking. But I think personally it's a healthy thing for the American public to have this out there. Hopefully they will reflect and react to it in terms of the misguided American foreign policy in Iraq and Iran, as those earlier releases tended to sink into the minds of many Americans. So I see it as personally a healthy process.
I'm going to pick on two words that you chose there, Franklin Lamb, and that's reflection and reaction. Stephen Lindman, on the authenticity of these documents, your views.
Well, you picked a topic very timely for me because I decided I'd write an article about it. And I began doing it. I'll finish it when I get back this afternoon. And I describe the documents as ranging from embarrassing to some that are important because most people don't know about them. But there are no smoking guns. One thing not in my article, but I will say this. If Wikileaks was releasing documents damaging to the U.S. government, Julian Assange would have been routed out a long time ago and would have been gotten rid of. There would be no place he could hide. The fact that that hasn't happened tells me that we could rail about what he's doing, but are we really that much upset about it? Oh, it's embarrassing. I think most of it is embarrassing. And as you said, it's not unusual to say that all embassies are infested with spies, and we say nasty things about world leaders. It's full of them. I include them in my articles. Berlusconi, Sarkozy, Karzai, you name it. I mean, one after another. There was a comment by Hillary Clinton calling Argentina's president maybe not mentally healthy. I'm not certain which one she was referring to, maybe the new one or maybe the one preceding her. My article is focused on two topics, both the releases that WikiLeaks came out with and also the way the New York Times chose to handle them. Back in July, the Afghan War Diaries, the Times admitted that they let the White House vet what they thought of publishing. So the White House redacted what they wanted out, and then they published. In an article in the Times today, they said exactly the same thing. Yeah. They're letting the White House redact material that official Washington does not want published, and the Times is publishing other material. In total, they said about 100 cables. 100 cables out of over 250,000. They're not all out yet. But 100 cables, meaning, of course, the Times will publish very, very little, and only material that the White House considers safe.